There's a story martial arts cinema keeps coming back to. Someone you love gets hurt. The person responsible is better than you, bigger, stronger, more dangerous, and completely out of your reach. In that moment, you're left with two choices: walk away or find a way. That's the whole formula, and it works over and over again. Because it's not really a story about fighting. It's a story about how much a person can endure to finish what someone else started. Here are 5 films that understand that better than almost anything else in the genre. One of them might even be the reason the others exist. But not every martial art film qualifies. For a film to earn its place on this list, it needs 4 things. A hero with someone to avenge. This isn't a fight for honor or a title, it's a wound that won't close. A mentor. Usually someone who has chosen to walk away from exactly the path the hero is now on. Someone who's often pulled back in. A training arc. One that gives the hero exactly what they need. The strength, the technique, the will to stand up to a once insurmountable enemy.
You are next.
And a brutal final confrontation. This isn't the Karate Kid. It's not about learning to stand up for yourself. These are films about learning to chop down a seemingly invincible foe. King of the Kickboxers is the least subtle film on this list. It knows exactly what it is. It operates on a DTV budget, and it commits to its premise completely. Lauren Avedon plays Jake Donahue, a cop sent undercover to Thailand to bust a snuff film operation. The star of those films is Khan, played by Billy Blanks, a fighter so dangerous he kills his opponents on camera and then sells the footage. Jake has a personal score to settle with Khan, but he learns very quickly that he's no match for him. The mentor, Prang, played by Keith Cook, is the only fighter to have ever put Khan on the ground, and still lost. The defeat broke him. He retreated into the jungle, playing the part of a useless drunk, so that nobody would come looking for him.
Doesn't look too bad.
That dynamic, a student desperate enough to seek out the one man who knows what Khan can do, and a mentor who knows exactly what that knowledge cost him, makes the film much more interesting than its budget would suggest. Blanks, a 7-time karate champion with an imposing screen presence, does the rest of the bloodthirsty Khan. No distractions here. Just the setup, the training, and a final reckoning that dials the intensity up to 100. If you want the formula at its most stripped back, this is your entry point. Best of the Best is the most unique film on this list. It takes the revenge formula and merges it with a tournament movie and a team sports drama all at once. The film follows the American martial arts team, led by Tommy, who is played by the very underrated Philip Ree. The team are preparing to compete against the Korean national team, captained by the man who killed Tommy's brother in a similar competition. What makes this dynamic even more extraordinary is that the Korean captain is played by Simon Ree, Philip's real-life brother. Best of the Best is interesting because of how it handles that history. It doesn't simplify it. The Korean side isn't framed as a faceless, emotionless enemy. They're competitors, undergoing their own intense training journeys, and the film is honest enough to treat them as human beings. James Earl Jones plays the American coach, and he's exactly what the film needs. Not a teacher of secret techniques, but someone who understands what it takes to build a team capable of competing at its absolute best. The final match remains one of the most visually spectacular and emotionally rich martial arts sequences you'll see on screen. If you want pure cathartic action, it might give you more than you bargained for. If you're willing to meet it on its own terms, it really delivers. Fist of Legend is the film on this list with the most to live up to. A remake of Bruce Lee's Fist of Fury with Jet Li playing the iconic Chen Zhen, a martial artist who returns home after his master dies under suspicious circumstances. What follows is a revenge story, but not quite in the way you'd expect. Chen Zhen isn't just training to fight someone. He's training to understand what his master faced. There's an intellectual quality to his pursuit that sets this film apart from everything else on this list. Yun Woo-ping choreographed the action, and it shows. The fights here aren't about spectacle, they're about problem solving. They're not a show of force, they're an investigation. How could his master have been killed? Several fights stand out, but the mid-film reckoning and the finale are the ones that stay with you. Fist of Legend is a Hong Kong classic, and one of the finest films in Jet Li's catalog. If you haven't seen it, I really recommend you prioritize it. Before we get to the top 2, a film that came very close to making this list. True Legend follows a retired warrior drawn back into conflict after a devastating betrayal by someone close to him. The training sequences that follow go somewhere a little strange. There's a surreal, almost mythological quality to how the film handles the process of recovery and reinvention. And drunken boxing has never looked more intentional on screen. It's an uneven film, but the sequences, where it works, are unlike anything else in the genre. For most people, Kickboxer is the definitive training for revenge film. And honestly, it's hard to argue. In many ways, it's the perfect example of the formula. Kurt Sloan travels to Thailand to watch his brother, the overconfident world kickboxing champion,
Kid, book us a flight to Taiwan.
compete against Tong Po, a merciless local fighter of almost mythological danger. It goes catastrophically wrong, and Kurt is left alone in Thailand with the crippled body of his brother to care for. Kurt tracks down Xian Chao, an eccentric, reluctant trainer who wants nothing to do with him or his problems. Kurt refuses to leave, and what follows is one of the most entertaining and emotionally satisfying training arcs in the genre. Brutal, funny, and completely committed to making you believe that Kurt is being forged into something new. Van Damme is at his physical peak here, and he brings all the intensity he was known for. And Xian is one of the great mentor figures that the genre has produced. Michael Kissy plays Tong Po with a tough-as-nails growl of an approach. He genuinely feels untouchable, not just dangerous, but the vicious representation of Thai boxing and the Thai mob. And the finale? Fighting in the old way? Oh, come on. Chef's kiss. No notes. Perfection. Kickboxer is a crowd favorite for a reason. It hits every beat of the formula perfectly and wraps it in gorgeous Thai temple photography that's unusual in martial arts films. So why is it number 2? Well, because there's one film on this list that didn't just perfect the formula, it invented it. The 36th Chamber of Shaolin was released in 1978, over a decade before Kickboxer. Over 15 years before Fist of Legend. It didn't follow the training for revenge formula. It created it. Every mentor, every training arc, every climactic confrontation on this list can be tracked back to the 36th Chamber in one way or another. Sante is a young man whose community is devastated by Manchu soldiers. He escapes, finds the Shaolin Temple, and asks to be trained. The training that follows is almost the entire film, 35 chambers of punishing physical and mental discipline, one by one. No shortcut, no snappy montage. The film actually shows you the work. Each chamber tests something different. Strength, balance, endurance, precision. Sante fails. He adapts, he moves on. By the time he's ready to face the antagonists, you've watched him earn every single skill. That's the crucial difference between this film and most that followed. You don't just believe he can win. You've seen the price he paid to get there. Gordon Liu stars with a completely committed performance. There's no irony, no winking at the camera, just a man becoming something through the sheer refusal to stop. The film was a phenomenon in Hong Kong on release and soon found a cult audience in the West, an audience that eventually included the Wu-Tang Clan, whose debut album took its name directly from the film. Master Killa took his name from its American title, Quentin Tarantino paid direct tribute to it in Kill Bill. The 36th Chamber of Shaolin didn't just influence martial arts cinema, it influenced culture. Kickboxer, in many ways, polished and perfected the formula that the 36th Chamber of Shaolin created. It is arguably a more commercially palatable film, but at the end of the day, 36th Chamber is what made it all possible. And sometimes you've just got to respect your elders. That was 5 of my picks for the best martial arts movies about training for revenge. What are your thoughts? I know at least one of you is already angrily typing, "Kickboxer was robbed" in the comments. But I'm genuinely curious. I want to know the consensus here. Maybe I'm the oddball. If you enjoyed this video, please do give it a like. There are plenty more coming soon, and if you'd like to see them, make sure to subscribe. Thank you for watching.